Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the end, because the story I'm about to share may change the way you look at the smallest pieces of history. Today, we're diving into the world of a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but carries a journey through time, war, and the hands of generations. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why this tiny piece of silver has captured the imagination of collectors around the world and how one astonishing example reached a value people never expected. So settle in, relax, and let's step back into history together. Imagine holding in your hand a coin no larger than a thumbnail, yet forged at a time when the world stood on the edge of uncertainty. The year was 1942. Across the globe, battles raged, borders shifted, nations trembled. But in a mint thousands of miles from the European front lines, in the southern tip of Africa, a small silver coin was struck. A coin made not just for commerce, but for a nation still defining its identity. The 1942 South African Threepence may not look like a warrior of history, but its story is tied to the very heart of a world in conflict. Picture the environment of those years. Supply chains were tight, metals were redirected to support war efforts, and mints around the world faced constant pressure. Yet South Africa continued to strike coins for its people, maintaining a sense of order in a world losing stability. This little silver piece became a symbol of everyday life persevering through global chaos. Farmers still needed to sell produce. Workers still earned wages. Families still bought bread, tea, and sugar. And in pockets across the country, jingling alongside other small denominations, rode the threepence. Now, if you've ever held a silver coin from that era, you know the feel of it. The weight is slight, yet solid, the coolness of the metal warming quickly in your palm. The 1942 threepence carries a design that is understated but full of meaning. On one side, the portrait of King George VI reminds us that South Africa was still tied to the British crown. On the other side, the familiar protea flowers speak for the land itself, a symbol of resilience, growth, and natural beauty. In the middle of conflict, this coin held on to a memory of peace. Think for a moment about the men who might have carried it. Soldiers on leave walking through dusty streets. Older gentlemen sitting in front of a small cafe, paying for their cup of tea. Fathers handing a coin to a child as a small reward. Coins pass silently from palm to palm, but every exchange leaves a small mark on history. And over time, most of the coins from this era wore down, faded, scratched, or were melted for their silver content. Few survived in the exceptional condition collectors dream about, and this is where the story takes a turn. Because while millions were minted, only a tiny number remain in pristine, untouched condition. Condition, rarity, and survival are the three pillars of true numismatic value. Anyone who has held on to coins through the decades understands that even a single scratch, a tiny dent, or a faint discoloration can change everything. A perfect piece becomes a common collectible. A flawless survivor becomes a treasure. Now imagine finding one of these coins in a forgotten drawer, tucked inside a small pouch, protected from time. Decades untouched. No fingerprints dulling the shine. No scratches from loose change. The coin remains exactly as it was the day it left the mint in 1942. A moment frozen. A perfect capsule of history. Collectors know that when you combine rarity with condition and a deep historical story, you get something more than a coin. You get a piece of heritage that stirs emotion. Many collectors, especially men in the retirement years, understand the pull of history better than most. They've lived through decades of change. They've watched technology reshape the world. They've seen nations rise and fall. And sometimes, a simple object from long ago becomes a way to reconnect with the past, to hold the memories of a world that once was. This is why people pursue coins like the 1942 South African Threepence. Not because they need it for spending, not because it shines more than modern currency, but because it carries a story, and stories become more precious as time moves on. When a collector finds a piece that speaks to them, it becomes more than metal. It becomes a part of their life, their reflection, their memory. Over the years, examples of this coin have come to auction. Most sell for modest amounts, valued for their silver and age. But every once in a while, a specimen appears that defies expectation. A coin so untouched, so preserved, so astonishingly perfect that collectors go silent when they see it. They know such a piece comes once in a generation. They know it may be their only chance to own something truly extraordinary. And when two determined collectors, each driven by a lifetime of passion, discover they want the same coin, something remarkable happens. The bidding climbs higher and higher. People watching hold their breath. The room grows tense. Every raised hand writes another chapter in the coin's journey. Moments like these remind us that value isn't only about metal or age. It's about desire. It's about connection. It's about history coming alive before our eyes. And now for the number you've been waiting for. One astonishing example of the 1942 South African Threepence, graded at the absolute top level with flawless preservation and unmatched brilliance, reached a jaw-dropping value of $9 million. Yes, $9 million. A small silver coin, smaller than a button, valued like a masterpiece. So the next time you come across an old coin tucked in a drawer, don't dismiss it. Every piece has a story. Some stories are simple, but others, like the story of this 1942 Threepence, rise far beyond what anyone could imagine. And if you enjoyed this journey, make sure you're subscribed, because there are countless more stories waiting to be discovered, and I'd love to share them with you.